shares of Tesla getting a huge pop in the session, up well over 10%, with the car maker reporting record deliveries for the fourth quarter.
Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today, because of personal reasons, I will not be able to record the full video, but I didn't want to miss the opportunity of first of all wishing you a great 2022 and congratulate everyone that is a Tesla investor for holding to the last couple of months and reaping the benefits as Tesla soars. With that being said, I will leave you with the mainstream media and financial analysts who are starting to finally wake up and get in line with all of us here in the retail investor community. Let's see what they have to say in 2022. Enjoy.
Tesla deliveries, those shares are trading higher, and that's after they reported their fourth quarter vehicle deliveries. 308,600 is how many vehicles they delivered in the fourth quarter. That means the total for the year, 936,000, which is an 87% gain year over year. And I went back and looked at 2019 as well, Jared, because people, you like to look at that 2-year. They're up quite a bit over that, over 2019 as well. And that 308,000 is also above estimates. So Tesla here,
and Jed, one of the questions is why the analysts were so off the mark here with expectations and this giant beat.
Yeah, the analysts have been off the mark. We were street high, but ourselves included in that. For quite some time.
They talk about Tesla, which is surging today, and that's an understatement on this delivery beat. You obviously own Tesla calls, and you've played a lot in the EV space. You want to leave us with a thought about Tesla today, what your expectations are for this new year with a surge like the one we're seeing today?
Absolutely, Scott, and thank you for that. They blew away the numbers. Nearly 50,000 more vehicles produced than were expected. That's not just raising the bar a little. That's jumping over that ladder. That's not just stepping across a ladder that's laying down on the floor. The numbers were fantastic. The fact that somebody jumped in today and bought $41 million worth of the 1,200 calls that expire this Friday. They've already made money on those calls today, Scott, but they're obviously looking for a lot more upside than what we've seen so far today. We have another day like today, the $41 million investment might go to $100 million plus if we top 1,200 on Friday. So, yeah, it's a great day.
Yeah, it's kind of that big wave happening. Tesla leading the charge, right, with this massive blowout. Q4 deliveries, 308,000 versus 263 expected. That's a big beat there. Now they don't really break down where the sales occurred, but sort of hints at strong demand both here and in China. It's also the 7th quarterly gain in terms of deliveries for Tesla. For the year, 936,000 deliveries, almost near that 1 million milestone there. They grew sales 85% in 2021 and 35% in 2020. This is just a really big beat both from the quarter and for the year. Somehow shaking off these chip shortages that we're seeing affect almost every other automaker. Tesla supposedly using engineers to recode some of the software to use chips from other parts of the car in places where they need those chips. Looking at the production though, for the 2022, you're seeing they put about 305,000 produced cars worldwide in Q4. Back of the page sort of calculation, that's about 1.2 million units produced. This is before even Texas and Germany come online. So it's kind of like a big put up or shut up quarter for the company, and they did it. And then analyst Dan Ives called it really a trophy case quarter for the company as well.
It's a new year, and we've got some great stocks to take a look at because they are doing exactly what Dan Ives said. Tesla starting 2022 off with a real bang. Joining us to share some details, and of course, Apple at $3 trillion. Dan Ives, Managing Director, Equity Research, Wedbush Securities. Dan, you called it. You called it on Tesla. You called it on Apple. But you always have, and it's because you're doing a lot of channel checks and doing your homework. So I guess you weren't surprised. Were you surprised? You tell me on the Tesla deliveries, the year number and the quarterly numbers that really wowed Wall Street and came out with a bang, beating the way.
Yeah, look, the Tesla numbers surprised me because I thought max could be 275, maybe 280. And there's about 30,000, give or take, because of the chip shortage that didn't happen. A 309 number that they came out with, that was just insanity. I'd almost call it really just a jaw dropper that was not even on the board for the bulls. And I think it just shows, Nicole, what the demand story looks like for Musk and Tesla going 2022, especially with chip shortage easing. And this green tidal wave continues to sort of gain steam.
It's really amazing. I mean, I too was really taken aback when you talk about the 936,000 for the year. Now I'm seeing numbers, 2 million plus. I don't know. When do you think they can get to that 2 million annual delivery? When do you think that could happen?
Yeah, look, Street right now is about 1.3, 1.4 million for next year. I mean, that'll probably move up, let's call it 1.5, 1.6. But look, I think the big story here is what's happened in Berlin and Austin, because that expands capacity. They could be over 2 million unit capacity by 22 by the end of it. And then at that point, relative to demand, I mean, you're going to start to see growth really multiply here. I mean, you could start to be 2.5, 3 million units when we look out over the next 18, 24 months. And that's really the story in Tesla. I'm not sitting here doing victory lap because of the quarter, because I just view it, this is sort of still the third, call it fourth inning of just this massive adoption curve playing out for Tesla. And as that happens, you could be looking at $30 earnings power by 2025.
It's so exciting. It truly is exciting. And as you talk about these factories, right, you were talking about Austin and Berlin, those gigafactories that really are likely to outpace what we've seen versus Fremont and Shanghai. By the way, he's had the factories in the right places to sort of get past the chip shortage problem and the supply chain problem. Somehow the way the factories were set up really worked in Elon Musk's favor. Also the fact that Austin and Berlin are higher gross margin for the company as well, free cash flow. These are the types of things that people are talking about when it comes to Tesla, right?
Well, yeah, and the gross margin story is important because, I mean, if you just go back to the bear thesis on Tesla, they're only making profits from credits, not on cars. Now look what's happening. When you look at those gross margins, those could continue to expand over the next few years. Capacity comes on. And this is also at a time where adoption's really starting to expand, not just in China, but in the US and Europe.
So I think if I could just break this down for a second, there's really two kind of key issues here. One is on the demand side. I think we've answered that question in 21. People want EVs more than they want internal combustible engine vehicles. So I don't think that's up for debate anymore. So then on the supply side, the ability for Tesla to be a manufacturing juggernaut has consistently proved the bears and is outperforming even the most bullish of us in terms of those expectations.
So what does this do to the delivery numbers for the rest of the year? Are you marking them higher?
I think so. Overall, market numbers have to come up. What we learned, and I came on your show several months ago in 21, I think one of the most important takeaways that we learned from Tesla actually didn't come from Tesla. It came from Elon Musk actually presenting to VW's board, and that's that they have 1/3 the takt time of VW. So if you look at the Model Y compared to the ID4, Tesla has a huge advantage here in terms of the ability to manufacture at 1/3 that time. So as we look at Berlin and we look at Austin now coming up, neither of which, by the way, are in our model, and we look at having to ramp those numbers, I think across the board are going to have to rise.
What's also interesting is at the end of last week, we got the news that there was going to be a pretty sizable recall of older model Tesla vehicles, which had various issues with them, most of them involving the trunk and blocking of the cameras. But this feels like more than overwhelms that potential negative from last week.
I think so. I mean, you look at the quarterly run rate, annualize it, it's 1.2 million. That's a lot of cars for Tesla. I still remember the days of reporting when Musk was on the line there, and he was calling it production hell. So Tesla's come a long way. A lot of that volume, a lot of the increase in that coming from Shanghai. And let's just take a look at the Tesla chart on the Wi-Fi Interactive here. We have it up 8% in the pre-market. That's a pretty bullish start to the year. Here's what's happened over the last year, and you can see maintaining gains of about 50%. Now, we do have this flag right here. A lot of times these resolve in the original direction. So on a longer term basis, we do have a definite uptrend in place here and just kind of setting the stage for another move up, although could easily come back and test the lower end here before that happens. We'll be talking a lot about this, but you think about Tesla, where they've come, where they're going. I think it's instructive the way they really did not suffer the same chip shortages that everybody else did. And from what I've been able to glean, it has to do with the fact that their software engineers were able to rewrite code on the fly to I guess, repurpose chips and to deal with some of the outlier events. So if you think about it, you have a bunch of smart people in a room just kind of playing MacGyver with the most advanced car ever produced. And so they're able to make things happen. But I think it's a testament to the flexibility of Tesla and the quality of their engineers that they were able to get through that year and increase production by as much as they did.
Yeah, and it really speaks to the war for talent that's going to continue likely between these automakers, right? Not just Tesla and the traditional automakers, but also there's been a sort of back and forth between Apple and Tesla in some of the hiring. So that's going to be interesting to continue to watch. Tesla, of course, didn't just have a positive year last year. I went back at the end of last week as we were looking back at all the stats and looked at just how consistently Tesla has performed on an annual basis. Now, of course, there have been some big drops from peak to trough in a given year. But if you look at that annual performance, there you have it. Every single year, the stock has risen. And the smallest gain was around 9% in 2018 and 2016. But it's largely been double-digit gains here for the company. Now, we have talked about how maybe those gains are going to be harder to come by because of increasing competition from the traditional automakers, the European automakers as well. But that hasn't materialized yet. We haven't seen a lot of those cars come out and sell with the same degree of success that Tesla has. So it's not sort of a zero-sum game here, but we'll see if Tesla can continue that same growth rate. I mean, I think safe to say if you look at the other automakers, they don't have that consistent annual performance that Tesla has had since it came public, basically.
No, and if you think about a year ago, what were people saying about some of the more traditional automakers? Well, VW, they're starting to eat Tesla's lunch. They're increasing their market share. GM, they have a new launch that they're going to come out with. Ford too. All that happened, and at the end of the year, Tesla's still killing it. So what are you going to argue with? The numbers are the numbers.
Yeah, the proof is in the pudding. The numbers are the numbers, however way you want to slice it.